which we are reading from Canto 6 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Chapter 11, are being spoken by the demon Vritrasura. This particular verse was chosen by some of our leading brahmacharis for me to speak on today. And I trust that they know exactly what I need to hear, because conditioned souls like me, we like to hear ourselves talk. So they give me the verses that will most purify my heart. And in the process of purifying my own heart, because these words are the words of Srimad Bhagavatam, everyone's hearts can be purified. How is it that such prayers for unalloyed, undivided, pure devotional service could be spoken from an ugly, horrible, violent demon who is in the battlefield, ruthlessly fighting against the devotees? This story is very instructive. Not only does it give us great philosophical insight into the nature of Krishna's mercy and the mercy of Vaishnavas, as well as how this world works, but it also reveals to us what type of inconceivable purifications a devotee may have to undergo to come to this conclusion of speaking these verses. Obviously, one who offers a prayer like this from their heart is 100% going back home, back to Godhead. Shukadev Goswami was asked by Parikshit Maharaj, how is it that this demon could have so much love for Krishna? And Shukadev Goswami explains. He goes back to a time which was just about when the Satya Yuga was entering into Treta Yuga. Long ago, there was a Vaishnav, a great devotee. His name was Chitraketu. He was the king of the earth. In the line of Surasena, he had everything, but he was miserable. The nature of the world. You can't always have everything. And even if you get almost everything, you'll be miserable. He was king. He had practically no rivals. All of his citizens loved him like children love a father. He was young, in perfect health. His body was beautiful. He was strong. He had immense wealth. More than anyone could have in today's world. He was the king. Such opulences. Eating the finest foods. Living in the most royal palaces. Wearing the most costly garments and jewels. Who could ask for more materially? He got married. His wife was utterly beautiful, faithful, chaste, eager to please him in every way. Although he had the power to have a child, no child came. It turned out she was a barren woman. Now in those days, Kshatriyas were allowed to have many wives because they had the wealth, the power, the personality to satisfy all of them. So he took on a second wife. He protected the first one very carefully. But he wanted a child, a son. Not only for his own satisfaction, but as a duty to his forefathers. For so many generations, his line were the kings. Who would be the next king? It was meant to be his own son. The second woman, beautiful, all good qualities, but couldn't give him a child. Another and another and another, until he had an enormous amount of wives. But none of them would give him a child. Chitraketu was miserable. The nature of the world, even if you have so much, even one thing can cause you so much pain. We see it every day. Our business may be going very well. Our sadhana may be very nice. Everyone likes us and praises us. We're in good health, we're young, everything's so good. But you step on a thorn. It's like you're dancing in kirtan, you dance on a thorn. Pain, serious pain. Can you enjoy anything else? Nothing. He was so much suffering. At that time, Angira Muni came to visit King Chitraketu. King Chitraketu welcomed him with customary Vaishnava tradition. Angira Muni inquired about his welfare. Everything that would make a king happy, he was doing. Angira Muni asked, then why do you look so pale and disturbed? King Chitraketu put his head down and lamented, I have no son. He gave a comparison. If one is severely aggrieved by hunger and thirst, and someone comes and gives you a beautiful flower garland and sandalwood pulp, will you be happy? Not at all. If your heart is lonely, no matter what else comes, cannot satisfy you. Chitraketu begged Angira Muni, please save me from hell. Save me from disappointing my forefathers. Do something so that I can get a son. Angira Muni had the Brahmins perform a yajna to satisfy Twashta. From that yajna, there was Mahaprasad. The Brahmins gave it to Angira Muni. Angira Muni gave it to Chitraketu, who gave it to his favorite wife, Krita Dyuti. She ate it. And the next time Chitraketu came together with her for the purpose of having a child, she became pregnant. She was growing. The child was growing inside her like the waxing moon. Oh, how Chitraketu rejoiced. And the whole kingdom, everyone, even all his co-wives were rejoicing. Finally. And the day of the birth of that little boy, Angira Muni told Chitraketu, when you have this child, name him Harsha Shoka. Harsha means joy. Shoka means lamentation. Now every child gives joy and lamentation. Chitraketu Maharaj had no idea to the degree he would get joy and lamentation. You see, lamentation comes in proportion to the joy we receive from something or someone. If you really love someone and they give you great joy, if they leave us, if they betray us, if they die, how much pain that causes to the heart. In the news every day we hear about so many people dying. And we think, oh, how sad. That's about the extent of it. Oh, how sad. But if someone who has given us joy dies, it causes us more pain than 10,000 people dying somewhere else. Yes? That was the scene. Human relations in this world are very, very intricate. King Chitraketu, without even knowing it, he was just so caught up in his jubilation that he didn't recognize that he was offending his other wives. He was not giving them the emotional protection that he as a husband was meant to give them. And he was going to suffer the most severe possible reaction. Now a devotee is paradukkha dukkhi. That means another person's joy is their joy. Another person's sorrow is our sorrow. That is selfless service. Now understand that King Chitraketu, when he chose a wife, they were good. They were obviously devotees. He was a great Vaishnava. Would he marry any woman that wasn't a Vaishnava? It's quite obvious. He didn't just marry them because of their physical beauty, which was definitely there, but because they were really good souls. But he brought the worst out in them. They were definitely not pure devotees. But as Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, every living being has a divine and demoniac nature. We give the example of the two dogs, the good dog and the bad dog. And they're both barking. They're fighting against one another. And the one that is fed the most food will become strong. And the one who you do not feed will become weak and lose the battle. And that food is the time we give it. When we invest time in feeding that good dog, that divine quality within us, by practicing devotional service, it becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. And when by following the regulative principles carefully, we neglect that bad dog and stop talking nonsense things and doing nonsense things and thinking nonsense things as far as possible by keeping engaged in good devotional service, then our demoniac nature is defeated by Krishna consciousness. Now, this is not only cultivated by ourselves, but it's also our responsibility to cultivate the divine qualities in others. That was Chitraketu Maharaja's grave mistake. By neglecting to feed the divine qualities within his wives, the demoniac qualities were getting stronger and stronger and stronger. That neglect was literally feeding the bad dog, feeding their demoniac nature. And those virtuous women became victims of envy. What is the nature of envy? Jayato vishayan pongsang sangosto shibajayate. We contemplate the objects of the senses, we become attached. From attachment, lust. When lust is unfulfilled, anger. When we're not getting what we want and we see that someone else has more, we become envious. And envy and anger are so interconnected. When you are envious of someone, you're naturally, potentially very angry at that person. And when there's anger, we lose our intelligence. We forget what is right and what is wrong. And then we engage in abominable activities. That is what happened. These poor spirit souls became victims of envy. And day by day, their minds were working in such complicated ways. Why is he not looking at us? Why is he not saying to us? He used to speak such sweet words to me. Why all those sweet words are now for someone else? And they were talking amongst themselves. Our husband is in Maya. He's cruel. He's hard-hearted. We cannot tolerate this. Due to that envy, festering like poison within their hearts, it impelled them to engage in the most abominable activity. Murder, to an innocent little child. They fed it poison. One day, the queen, Kritadyuti, called the maidservant, "Bring my little child." And the maidservant, "Oh, wake up, wake up." He looked like he was sleeping very soundly. But there was no movement. Eventually, she realized he was dead. She cried out, "Alas," and fell to the floor. The king came running, and when she saw her child dead, she was wailing, fell to the ground unconscious. Soon everybody around was crying piteously. King Chitraketu heard this and came running to the scene and saw not only was his wife suffering miserably, but his son was dead. It was unbearable. But what or who gives you the most happiness has the potential of making you suffer the worst. It is the nature of love. And there are so many variegations of this phenomena. When you invest your love in someone, they have the capacity to cause you more pain than anyone or anything. Because pain of the heart is deeper and more excruciating than pain of the body, or even pain of the mind. Their hearts were pierced. And he was watching his wife. She just was beside herself, crying out, "What? Oh, Providence, why are you so cruel? Oh, Lord, what is the sense of what you're doing? Yes, I know that there's no law that a father has to live, that a son has to live and see the father die. But look what you're doing." She's praying to the Lord. Try to make sense of what's going on here. If fruitive activities are like this, where you have a child, a baby, and it's growing, and you're developing such deep affection, and then the baby dies, and you suffer so much, then who in this world will ever want to have a child? What discouragement are you creating? Then she looked at her little boy and said, "Wake up. You've slept long enough. Please wake up." She was delirious. "Your playmates are waiting for you to play with them. Nice prasad is already made. Come and eat. Wake up. Why are you doing this?" And then she broke down unconscious. "Why have you left me? Where have you gone, my child?" And King Chitraketu, with his mouth wide open, was loudly wailing, crying. And all the other queens that conspired to murder this little child, they were all pretending to cry. And everyone in the world was crying. He couldn't do anything except lament. Hearing the news, Angira Muni came back to the palace along with Narada Muni. Seeing the situation, Narada Muni instructed King Chitraketu, about the nature of this material world. The soul is eternal. All attachments on this bodily concept are meant and designed to cause us to suffer. Why not take shelter of the Supreme Lord, which is the only real duty of this human life? Hearing this philosophy from Narada Muni, King Chitraketu was pacified. He bowed his head in gratitude for the enlightenment he had received. At that time, Narada Muni turned to the little child, the corpse, and said, "Oh, little Jiva, come back into this boy's body and speak to us why you have left. In fact, I give you the power to come back and grow up in this body and enjoy with your mother and father and become the next king and rule the world. Come back." Then the little boy sat up, opened his eyes, looked around, and spoke. "This body? This is not me. I'm the eternal soul." The soul is always manifesting various forms according to our fruitive activities and our karmas. The example he gave, just like money. Yes? You have money and you give it to a shopkeeper to buy something, and then that shopkeeper buys some other stock for his shop, and the money goes into somebody else's hands. And then that wholesaler puts the money in the bank, and it goes in someone else's hands. And then the bank loans it out to someone else, and it goes to someone else. So money is going from one hand to one hand to one place to one place to one place to one place. He said, similarly, the spirit soul. It's going from one body with a set of parents and brothers and sisters and cousins and aunts and uncles and friends and lovers, and then it goes to another and another and another and another. Who is my real father? Who is my real mother? Not these people. He looked at Chitraketu and Kritadyuti, not them. They're not my real mother, father. I've had so many millions and millions and millions of mothers and fathers. 8,400,000 species of life. We have mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, and all other relatives. But in the passing of time, they're all gone. It's like a river. And all our different births in this material world are like waves in the river. The power, the river of time is carrying us. And we just, a wave, and then another wave, and another wave, and another wave, birth after birth after birth after birth. And in every birth we become so entangled, we become so attached, we become so infatuated by the circumstances. Ignorant of the reality that in a flash it can all vanish. The little child did not desire, although Narada Muni gave him the blessing. If you want, stay in this body, grow up, give your father happiness, be the king. The child said, my fruitive act, my karma is destined to go to another place. After speaking the knowledge of the eternal nature of the soul, the child laid down, and the soul again departed. But now Chitraketu and his wife, they understood. And not only that, after hearing this transcendental philosophy, all the queens that killed it. They were repenting, lamenting for what they had done. And they took shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to atone for that offense. Narada Muni told Chitraketu Maharaj that the only shelter, the only reality is in the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. And I will give you a mantra. By chanting this mantra and following my instructions very carefully, within only 5 days, you will have the personal darshan of Shankarshan Vishnu. King Chitraketu surrendered his life. This is very interesting. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Brahmabhuta prasanatma nasochati nakangshati. One who attains the Brahman platform, the spiritual platform of consciousness, does not hanker nor lament. And the great acharyas teach us that this material world is about these two principles, hankering and lamenting. And whatever enjoyment there is just somewhere in between the two. But it doesn't last very long, especially from the perspective of eternality, the reality. We hanker for what we don't have. We long for it. We crave for it. We work for it. We strive for it. Sometimes we'll even engage in immoral activities to somehow get it. And we may get it, but then it's lost. And we lament. Hankering, lamenting. Angira Muni told Maharaj Chitraketu, when you were hankering for something you didn't have, you were too much absorbed with the hope and the expectation of getting it. Therefore, your mind was so materialistic, I could not speak transcendental knowledge to you then. You could not hear it. But in your total lamentation, you could hear it. When he was hankering for something he didn't have, his heart was not receptive to Krishna consciousness. But when he was lamenting, when he lost it, and there was no hope of getting it back, then he was completely receptive. So of the two, hankering and lamenting is a more miserable situation. They're both miserable. Yes? When you're hankering for something, you're not happy. It's a very unhappy condition to be craving for something you don't have. Craving. Even the queens, they were craving, they were hankering, and they were lamenting because they didn't get it. So when we're craving for something, there's the hope that we'll get it. And therefore, the infatuation is just increasing, increasing, and increasing. But when we get it and lose it, it's done. Then lamentation. And in that lamentation, there's almost a hopeless situation. So King Chitraketu was not so intoxicated when he was lamenting as he was when he was hankering. They're both miserable situations. Lamentation is far more miserable than hankering. When you're hankering for something you have nothing, you don't have. It's anxiety, it's suffering. But then you get it and you enjoy it. When it's lost, that lamentation is worse. It took that to sober him up. And then he could hear. So with that realization, which is very instructive to all of us, he worshiped the Supreme Personality of Godhead wholeheartedly. Now why is this so important in Srimad Bhagavatam? Because those who are of good intelligence, they learn by hearing. Otherwise, we have to go through the whole process ourselves. And then, through that experience, we may learn. But unless we hear properly, we go through the same experience again and again and again and again, birth after birth after birth, and never learn. You see, what Chitraketu Maharaj has gone through, we've all gone through it. Probably hundreds and thousands of times since we've entered into this material existence. Still, we haven't learned our lesson. But if we open our hearts to submissively hear from Shukadev Goswami and the previous acharyas who are expanding this message, we could actually learn. We understand. Chitraketu is me and you. But if we just hear about some ordinary person like me and you, it doesn't affect us so much. Therefore, Chitraketu was staged in such a grandiose, amazing, and exciting story to really get our attention. So he took shelter of the Supreme Lord. Why? Because he gave up hope of being happy in the material world. This is a very, very fearful thought. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur taught us like this. It's not going to sell books in the market of the secular audience, because they are hankering for happiness in this material world, and in their lamentation they're just hankering for something else. They hanker, they lament. Then in that lamentation they hanker for something else, and then they lament and hanker for something else and lament. Birth after birth after birth. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, you cannot really approach Krishna sincerely. You cannot really cry out his holy name with deep feeling until you lose hope that you can be happy in this material world. Because Maya is very powerful. Please understand, she's as powerful as Krishna. She's Krishna's own energy. Daiviheshu gunamayi mama maya duratyaya. Material nature, very difficult to overcome. These three modes of nature, the gunas, are like ropes that keep us bound and drag us and pull us from one activity to another. And we're like prisoners, just being dragged from place to place, from thing to thing. What are we doing? And we consider ourselves the doer. Ahankara vimudatma, so foolish. We think we're ourselves the doer of activities. But actually, we're just being dragged by the ropes of ignorance, passion, and sometimes goodness. But Krishna is the master of creation. Maya dyakshena prakriti. It's all working under His control. By our free will, we come into material nature because we want to enjoy separately from God. And once we come here, we are under the laws of nature. Krishna is not directly involved in our fruitive activities and the reactions. They're happening just like the king. When you go into a prison house, he's not directly putting you in this cell and punishing you for this or that. He has the agencies of the law doing that work. But that law is all powerful within this material existence. And we are insignificant. We are totally subordinate to that law, always. But if we take shelter of Krishna, if you take shelter of the king, he can take you out of that whole system. Just like in the United States of America, when the president is about to leave his office, he has certain powers where he can release prisoners, even people who have death sentence, even people who are in for life. By his presidential powers, he can say, this man, make him free. That's his prerogative before he leaves his office. Krishna is the King of Kings. He never leaves his office either. Right now, don't blame Krishna for our suffering. We left him, and okay, here's this material nature, there's 3 modes, and there's karmic laws, and you make what you want to make out of your life. You're responsible. The joys that come are the karmic reactions to what we've done. The sufferings, the karmic reactions. We may not understand how they work or when or why or any of those other things, but they're all working together ultimately to bring us to surrendering to Krishna. The Shastra says that for a devotee who's engaged in devotional service, that means that devotee is not engaging in any immoral or sinful activities, but engaging in Krishna service. Krishna service is free of karma. It is akarma. For that devotee, the sufferings we endure is exhausting all our previous sins. And the happiness we're getting is exhausting all of our previous piety, our material happiness and our material sufferings. So let it all go. We just keep doing devotional service. And yes, we suffer. So many reasons to suffer. All our sinful karmas of all our past lives are just being burned up by that suffering. And the material happiness, all our pious activities are being burned up. And at the time of death, when there's no more pious or impious activities, there's no more rebirth. And if we're fixing our mind on Krishna, we go back home, back to Godhead, by chanting His holy names. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishami masaja. Krishna says, abandon all varieties of dharma. Because most varieties of dharma are meant for material happiness. Artha, kama, dhamma, moksha. People engage in religious activities or approach God or demigods because we want better economic situation in this world. You can't blame people poverty is a very fearful thing. It's really miserable when you have no food, you have no shelter, your children are suffering. People are very afraid of poverty. They see it. Many have experienced it. And people will work so hard to protect themselves from it. But the problem is, the more you have, the more you need. We see very, very fabulously wealthy people. And usually, they have to work harder than the poor people who are just struggling to get out of poverty. Why? Because as you build up your empire, it's going to be, the bigger you are, the more people are going to try to destroy it. And the more you have, the more you need to maintain what you have. And in the world today, because of all the competition from all directions, the bigger you get, you have to keep getting bigger. Otherwise, you'll be crushed. You can't just stay where you are and be happy. It doesn't work that way. Not in the mode of passion. So we see millionaires, billionaires, they're just flying all over the place and under so much stress and so much anxiety. Why? Because if they don't just keep fighting, then they'll lose everything. Everything will collapse. And they'll be disgraced with nothing. You could be a billionaire today, but if you don't fight and foam at the mouth and practically give up all the things you like to do just to maintain it, what happens is soon you're billions of dollars in debt. And you might end up in jail. It happens every day. Is that happy? In this world, we have to be very careful because we could be prisoners of success. Did you ever think of that? Being a prisoner of success. The more successful you become, the more you become a prisoner of that success. You're ruled over by it. You're controlled by it. You're a slave of it. And you think, I am the controller. I have so many employees, and I have so many people who are depending on me, and I can hire and I can fire, and I can destroy countries. But actually, you may think you're controlling, but you're totally controlled by your success, the ego, the competition, everything. You're a slave. Famous people, we have seen how they're prisoners of their success. I've talked to famous people and people who know famous people. I mean, really famous people. They have no life, practically. Wherever they go, there's just cameras all over the place. They just want to take their child to a restaurant, and they're walking all over you, and people are putting books in your hand, signing autographs. Just leave me alone. I was talking to one lady whose relative is a very, very famous person. I was saying how they went to a restaurant and it was such a relief because they got to eat in peace. But that person had to disguise himself in so many ways. All these different sunglasses and putting on these different cosmetics and wearing clothes that he would never wear before. Practically like a prisoner trying to escape from a prison by disguising yourself in so many ways. That's what he has to do just to live a normal life. Is that happy? But yet we think something very good. Prisoner of success. We're prisoners of failure. We're prisoners of success. We're prisoners when we don't do anything. Why? Because this material world is a prison house. Whatever you do, you're a prisoner. Therefore, Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityajya, artha kama dhamma moksha. Yes, look at Indra. He's prisoner of success. We read about it so many times. He has such a big position, and he earned that position. Please understand, it wasn't that Indra was just accidentally born like this. In previous births, he had to perform so many tapasya, so many austerities. He had to perform such yajnas. He had to engage in so many pious activities, birth after birth after birth. He worked really, really hard to get the post of Indra. And now he has all that opulence and all that power and all that control. But in Srimad Bhagavatam, is he happy? He's always worried. He's always in anxiety. He always needs something else and something more. And this is the heavenly planets. What to speak of this planet? It's a prisoner. So what is this? Worshipping God for economic prosperity. Or worshiping God because we're in distress. Distress is there. But Prahlad Maharaj tells us, by trying to solve the problem of distress on the material platform, the solution may solve that particular distress, but it creates more complicated problems than the original problem. Sense gratification. We worship God to fulfill our sense gratification, but Krishna tells us right out, you cannot ever satisfy your desire for sense gratification. It burns like fire. You satisfy it, and do you attain Om Shanti Shanti? You feel some temporary mundane ecstasy. But then as soon as it's gone, as soon as that ecstasy's gone, the anxiety, the distress for more increases. So why worship God for that? And some people worship God to be pious and good to others. Religiosity. Which is very good. It's more in the mode of goodness. But even then, it's on the bodily concept. We do good for those we love, but ultimately they'll either betray us, or leave us, or disappoint us, or die. Every one of your loved ones, that is the culmination of your relationship on the physical platform. And everything we achieve is lost when we die. So what for? And moksha, liberation, no more sufferings. But for a devotee, liberation is worse than hell, mukti. Because the real need of the soul to love is not satisfied. Aruya krishtena param padam tata. Therefore, the likelihood of being in that Brahmajyoti is we fall down again into this material world. Why? Because the need to love and be loved is still missing within the soul.